Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and I'm a terminally online historian who wasn't terminally online this past week due to a mini vacation. So I do like following the news and giving my opinion on them. And I have just a few stories this week, not as much as the last couple of weeks, because like I said, I actually spent some time offline. I even had a day where my phone was off most of the day because I wasn't near it because I didn't want to lose it on the roller coaster. So, with that said, I'm going to get us a little on the started side for what I think were some of the most important stories for the week ending on September the 28th, 2025. And we are going to start with the fact that Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. Fortunately, him and Disney came to some sort of undisclosed agreement and returned to air on Tuesday in every single ABC affiliate that was not owned by Sinclair or Nexstar. And it actually was a good thing. And that he was welcomed back to the air. 6.2 million viewers tuned into that broadcast. I did not. I had an early morning, so I went to bed early. But during the 24 hours, including next 24 hours after that air, the YouTube clips of the monologue had 17 million views on it on YouTube, which includes myself. I will, in full disclosure, I do try to watch Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert's monologues every day, usually the day after, because I'm usually in bed around the time they do the monologues. So good for him. It was a very thoughtful monologue in which he thanked all his supporters and also had some comments about free speech and also stated his intent that he was not trying to wish the late Charlie Kirk or his family ill, and he actually broke down in tears a couple times talking about his intentions because it's Jimmy Kimmel. He's funny, but he's also a very, very empathetic person, and which is a good thing. We need that in late night, and Kimmel's perfect for that. Now, like I said, Sinclair and Nexstar did preempt Jimmy Kimmel for the remainder of this past week, but starting tomorrow, they will be showing Kimmel and not preempting him anymore. It sounds like they got a lot of viewer backlash in their markets, which is good because it does show that the voice of the people, especially at the local level, is very important and you got to listen to them. And that, again, like I've been saying the last few weeks, you have more of an effect on local and state politics than you do on federal politics. So do get involved locally or at the state level as much as you can. Of course, Jimmy Kimmel is still going hard after President Trump. He basically called him a bully on Wednesday. So sounds like the mocking of Trump is pretty much staying the same. And also, speaking of mocking, South Park had a new episode this week. They were supposed to have it the week before, but they say they just straight up admitted, like, yeah, we ran out of time. We did get up. But the Beast story involved, it's hilarious, involving Trump and his pregnant boyfriend, Satan. And Brendan Carr gets pretty much ran through the ringer in this episode. And the A story is actually pretty good, too, because it talks about predictive markets and how that's basically a backdoor way of online gambling. And also at the very end, I do highly recommend it because they also went after Vision in the Yahoo. So overall, this week was a big win for us free speech advocates. And also, it looks like Disney has taken a look at this whole thing thoroughly with their lawyers, which are with the current state of the Department of Justice right now, the best lawyers in America. And Disney is convinced that should this happen again, they have a strong legal case and that they should be able to win in court. And good for them, and good for that Jimmy Kimmel is back in the air, and more importantly, that Jimmy Kimmel's staff still has jobs and they're still being able to do what they love to do. Of course, like I said last week, we started with the whole Kimmel story because that was concerning due to the free speech implications, but also just as concerning is that this past Thursday, former FBI Director James Comey was indicted by Trump's DOJ, specifically in the Eastern District of Virginia. This is in case you don't remember, Director Comey was the FBI director appointed originally by Barack Obama and served the first few months of Trump's first administration before he was fired because Comey would not open a sham investigation. I can't remember what all the details. Oh yeah, it was a squash the investigation into Russian affairs, which led to the whole Mueller report. So he was indicted. The indictment is actually pretty sparse on the details. They believe it involves a Senate hearing that occurred back in 2020, in September 30 of 2020, and with a line of questioning from Senator Cruz of Texas to Comey. It was definitely the indictment was sparse on the details and very vague on who said what and would even list out specifically by name who was whom. And so it does look like it was a rush job, which would beat the 5-year statute of limitations on perjury based on that 2020 Senate hearing, which would be at the close of business on this coming Tuesday the 30th. And even the magistrate judge admitted that in the transcripts, they confused by the whole handling of it, as there was 2 indictments signed and submitted, one with 3 charges and one with 2. But that makes sense because the current U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia is a lady by the name of Lindsay Halligan. She is a Trump loyalist. Insurance is what her legal practice is in, and unsurprisingly, a former Miss Colorado USA contestant, and she has never prosecuted a single criminal case in her entire life. Now, both myself and legal experts are projecting that this case will never see a trial. Most of the experts are saying this is a clear vindictive prosecution indictment, which means this was Comey was filed and indicted basically because Trump's got a bone to pick on trying to be vindictive in this matter. And this is actually a very simple case in the motion practice, and the most likely outcome is Comey's team, they just got to get on Truth Social and Twitter and with their motion, when they file their motion to dismiss, just fill up that whole motion with screenshots of Trump's social media posts involving Comey. Now, another way they could go, or even could include in that motion, is they could file a motion to dismiss because it wasn't filed in the correct district court. Because this doesn't involve that, like I said, that Senate hearing in September of 2020, because of COVID-19 restrictions, Comey testified from his home by Zoom in Northern Virginia, but the committee itself was still meeting in D.C., so they could file hey, this was as part of the motion, or just separate motion itself, be like, hey, we don't think this was filed in the right district, because the committee is based out of D.C. and called to order in D.C. It should have actually been filed in D.C. federal court. If it's dismissed for that reason, then that statute of limitations will kick in, and the Trump's DOJ would not be able to refile the case in the correct district court. So there's that. Like I said, it most likely is going to be dismissed because Trump can't keep his mouth shut, and it's clearly a vindictive prosecution. Now, what's scary is that this whole situation is a straight-up dictatorial move. Really, I saw when I was studying Russian history, especially the Stalin era, this textbook Stalin-esque. Fortunately, thanks to Lindsay Halligan for pretty much not having any experience as a prosecuting attorney, the indictment's sloppy, it's vague, it's easily going to be dismissed for many reasons. I also expect the judge involved to sanction the DOJ and order the DOJ to pay Comey's legal fees. But of course, that's going to be a few weeks out. a more pressing concern, and this will affect millions of government workers, is that there is a potential government shutdown that will happen if a spending bill is not passed by Congress and signed into law by the end of the day, Tuesday Eastern Time. It does look like, from what I can see, the president is using this, does kind of want this shutdown to happen, because the president wants to use this shutdown to lay off federal workers, consolidate some of his power, especially involving the military and immigration, and also deploy troops to cities where he thinks the crime is out of control, such as Chicago, New York, and other generally blue cities in blue states that he's been shitposting about. So the president and congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle do have a meeting tomorrow on Monday in an attempt to cut a deal. To be perfectly honest, I do think that Trump's going to chicken out at the last minute, give a few concessions to the Democrats to avoid this shutdown, because really, with the Republicans controlling the White House and both houses of Congress, it's going to be very easy during the midterms that if the shutdown happens, the Democrats will be like, hey, we were not in charge. We tried cutting a deal. It's the Republicans who are responsible for this shutdown, and it's going to be something that Trump just doesn't like being dragged through the dirt. So that's going to be something I expect to happen, is that a deal get cut. Probably if not tomorrow, then sometime Tuesday, and a shutdown will happen. Now, granted, I do think that there will be concessions to the Democrats on a few things, and there's no way that a deal will go through without those concessions. Finally, and I do think this is what we call bad science, is that this past Monday, President Trump and Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Made a horrible announcement regarding acetaminophen and autism, basically stating that pregnant women should not take Tylenol if they have any sorts of pains during pregnancy, because they're now claiming that Tylenol is a direct cause of autism. And unfortunately, that's junk science that's based on one crappily written journal article that has since been retracted. There are no academic studies that directly link acetaminophen to autism. Really, the main reason for the rise of numbers of folks on the autistic spectrum is due to psychologists and pediatricians just having better tools to correctly diagnose folks with autism. And also, autism, just because someone is on the autistic spectrum, does not mean that they are not a functioning member of society. There are folks that are high-functioning autistic kids and individuals, and they're able to live independently, hold down jobs, have normal relationships. It's just they don't process things that we do normally. And then there are also folks who have it pretty severe, where unfortunately they have to rely on iPads to communicate. I've been doing some work with special ed kids as part of subbing lately, and those iPads are called talkers, and those kids do know how to use them. They just push a button for what they're trying to say, because some kids, their vocal development and is just it's delayed, or just unfortunately does not happen. But that does not mean that these kids are bad kids. It's just they are developmentally challenged, and from my experience, not just working in special ed, I also have a couple of friends who have autistic kids. You just have to be patient with them. You have to try and learn how they communicate, and communicate that way, and do everything you can to help them have a good, normal life. So, folks, trust the science, not what the government says. Tylenol is still fine. I've had some Tylenol the past few days due to back pain from driving and hitting up roller coasters and being on my feet, and just being older. So with that said, that's all I got for this week. I will make a programming note that I will not be posting a news review video next week, as I will be at Pride Festival next weekend, so I won't have the time to do this, but I will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think is interested. If you're going to comment, please be kind to each other in those comments. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye-bye.